there. Kept seeing a rock on live scope and just had to get that drop shot positioned right. As soon as it got right on top of that rock, I saw it going down and the fish came up and ate it. So can't see the fish, but I can see the rocks. Well, we just wrapped up 2.5 days of practice here on the St. Lawrence River. And all I can say is St. Lawrence River is not the river it was back in 2013, the first time I came here. And what I mean by that is the year I won Angler of the Year, we were up at Lake Oneida. They announced the schedule. And I remember my dad and I came up right after Oneida to scout this place out. And back then, we didn't know a lot about the St. Lawrence River. It was just kind of a local knowledge place, and there hadn't been any major tournaments here. Fast forward a year later to 2013, and I got to say, what a phenomenal, amazing fishery. And it truly was. I've never seen a place where you could go.
And still is.
And still is, but I've never seen a place where you could go and you could pull up to a spot and literally catch 100 bass. And you know, it's one of those things you don't realize what you have till it's gone. And so fast forward, I've been here over the years now, probably, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 times between, you know, my time at Bass and now at MLF, you know, fished the 5 fish formats and I've fished the Every Fish Counts. And I have a theory that I've kind of accepted, or kind of my theory. Everybody has an opinion, but this is my opinion. What I've seen happen in the last 10 or 11 years here now is, like I said, back in 2013, you came here and it seemed like almost everywhere you went, I felt like I was a phenomenal smallmouth fisherman because you just caught so many fish. I mean, you'd go to places that were so-so and you still catch some fish. But then when you found the amazing places, you could catch, you know, 100 a day off of them. But back then you wouldn't do it. You'd pull in, you'd catch 3 or 4 and it'd slow down and you might not catch any more 3 or 4 pounders. So then you'd leave, and the ones that we would take for granted now, like 2 pounders, because, you know, this week everything is about, you know, 2 pounds or bigger. So, you know, a different game. But what's been interesting, and I noticed this, you know, the last time we were here in June. So it was a different deal. The fish were spawning. That's when the guys caught them with floggers. You know, they were catching spawning fish, so they're probably catching the same fish multiple times, because smallmouth are easy to do that with. But, you know, even back then, you know, several years ago, it didn't seem like the same fishery. But now fast forward, here we are, it's August 2024. We've been out here for 2.5 days of practice. And I got to say, halfway through the first day of practice, I was really even questioning if I was even on the St. Lawrence River, because it was hard to get a bite. And I wasn't just going off of never been here before. I was going on waypoints of places where I've caught fish years back in August, you know, where you'd catch a lot of fish and you wouldn't even get a bite. And it seemed like, I think I was a couple hours into the day before I finally even caught a scoreable bass. So, you know, I think after the first day of practice, I was pretty disappointed. I mean, I caught a few fish here or there, but what was really crazy to me is, seems like the zebra mussels are a lot more prevalent. I mean, that first day of practice, I went through so many drop shot weights. I mean, just breaking off, you'd be working, dragging one along, and it would catch on something, you reel it in, there'd be nothing. I mean, just the zebra mussels are cutting everything. But first day of practice was very, very tough. I caught a handful of fish, but did not find what I felt like I was looking for. And, you know, I've kind of got a rule now in practice, especially something like the St. Lawrence River. You don't want to spread yourself so thin, especially in a level like this. What you need to do is you need to find one area, obviously the smaller the better, but that has multiple areas in it to fish, because anytime you're running, you're not catching, you know, you're not going to be fishing or catching a fish. So, you know, my goal throughout the practice was to find an area where I could get a lot of bites. And second day of practice, got out there, and it was pretty breezy, and ran a lot of the river where I'd had a lot of success in the past, where, you know, these are places where back in 2013, you could catch 50 to 100 fish off of a spot. And I'd pull in there and you might catch one little one, or not even get a bite. And it just really just started to wear on me. Finally, towards the end of that second day, I got an area where I caught some fish. And you know, the St. Lawrence River is notorious for drifting, where you just drift. You do the St. Lawrence drag, and you drag, and you'll drag over a spot. You might catch one, then you have to go up and drag again and catch another one. And I never found anywhere where I could catch multiple fish. You drag a spot, and then you catch one fish, and you go back over it 3 times and never catch another one. But I did find that second day of practice, I found a bridge where I'd caught some fish before, and you know, got a few bites, and it felt like something I could build off of. A bonus largemouth, 2.5 pounder. We'll take them. The last day of practice, I was in a dilemma. Do I stay in that area and really get dialed in and try to find as many spots possible to catch some fish, or do I completely scrap all that the last day of practice and go somewhere completely different and potentially spread myself too thin? So I opted to you know, stick with my rules. I'm like, I'm going to stay up in this area and I'm going to get very familiar with it. Well, woke up on Monday morning and the radar did not look pretty. I mean, here we are, we're up here in August and they're calling for rain and wind. And, you know, I love to fish, but man, I don't like fishing in the rain. It's just tough. But sometimes the fish bite. So anyway, I decided to get out there and expand on what I found. There was a big portion of this bridge I hadn't even fished. I'm like, I need to go and check every one of those places because I need to know where the key places are and where the dead water is. And with that, actually found some other walls that I was able to fish, places where I could pull up and feel like I could catch a fish. And found a couple corners, you know, little eddies and stuff like that. So I was, after that second day of practice, other than it rained and poured down rain all day and was we went from summer type conditions like this to pouring down rain and pretty miserable. So overall, I'd say practice was decent, but getting back to it, this place is still a phenomenal fishery, and I know in the tournament it's going to show out as a phenomenal fishery. But the days of catching 100 bass off of a spot and being able to make the same drift all day long and catch multiple fish, those days are gone. Here's my theory on that though too, is this is probably not going to be a real popular theory, but it's my theory and I've witnessed it because we were here in 2013. Place had never really been fished for major tournaments. The fish were easy to catch. A lot of the fish seemed like they'd never been caught before, and it was just easy fishing, lots of catching. Fast forward through the years, and you know, still some great weights, but these were all 5 fish deals. So 5 fish deals can be very deceptive because when you come to a weigh-in and you see people bringing 5 fish across the scale, that's all you see. You don't know if they caught 5 or 150, you know. So but then, like I said, we rewind a few years back, we fished our every fish counts deal here, and the weights were tremendous, but those were during the spawn. So I think a lot of these fish were, you know, guys were finding the few areas where during the spawn, they all congregate and they spawn in those key areas. Well, now we're in the summertime, the fish get spread out. They're all over the river. I mean, in practice, I caught fish in 5 foot of water and I caught fish in 50 foot of water. So there's a lot of places for these fish to be right now, but they're pretty scattered out. But back to the tournaments. So, you know, this is one of the biggest things that brought me to MLF was the catch, weigh, release. I think it's the future of our sport. I know it's the future of our sport, and I think it's the best thing for our resources because, you know, the dirty little secret is, unfortunately, when we do these, put fish in the live well and run them all around and bring them into a weigh-in and hold them up in front of the fans, anybody that's ever tournament fished knows for a fact that's not good on the fish, but especially smallmouth in the summertime. You're pulling these fish out of 30, 40, 50 foot of water, And I don't care what they say, if you fizz them, yeah, some of them are going to survive, but guess what? A lot of them aren't going to survive. And I think a lot of that goes on. You see a lot of the locals, uh, they, they, uh, they're harvesting the fish too. And I'm nothing against that, but the reality of it is this place has changed a lot in the last 10 years. Still going to show out, still a great fishery, but it's definitely not what it was, many years back. So back to that, I have some goals to achieve here this week. My goal is to make that knockout round. And if I make the knockout round, I think I'll make red crest. So with that being said, I've kind of done the math. I've analyzed it every way I possibly can. And I'm guessing I need to probably catch at least 100 pounds to have a shot at the making the knockout round. And, so that means if you break it down, it's like 18 pounds a period or something like that. And, I can break it down to, I got to catch a squirrel bass every like 10 to 15 minutes to keep that pace going. So that's where I put my practice together. I've got, 5 or 10 places that hopefully I can pull up, fish for 10 or 15 minutes and catch a scoreable and just rotate through those. And if I can do that, for 3 periods, I'll put myself in position. So, going to be an interesting one. Most of the fish I caught in practice were drop shotting. Caught 1 or 2 on a jerk bait, caught a couple on a Carolina rig, but it's just going to be the basic deal. Definitely going to be live scoping and all that. But my goal going into this tournament is I've got a little, I guess it's a feed mill or something that's got some walls and some eddies to it, that some places where I caught some and saw a fair amount on live scope. And then I've got this bridge that's got, it's got bridge pilings anywhere from 3 feet of water, and some of them are in 50 foot of water. And I got bit the other day on probably 3/4 of them. So if I can just go through there, and if I could catch a fish off every other one of them, I think I can have a good tournament. The big question is will it hold up, or how many fish are actually around those things? And you don't know that until the tournament. So I'm anxious to get out there and see what this place has to offer. But hopefully I've put together the right plan. And if I can get out there, and like I said, the goal is catch, 50 plus pounds a day, we'll put ourselves right where we need to be. So be sure to follow along, and anxious to see how it plays out.